Hello, I'm Mantastic'c and Fantastic, and today I'm going to be talking about the Gung-Ho collab that has come back once again to North America. So, the Gung-Ho collab is owned by Gung-Ho, which means it will be returning on a regular basis, which means cards will be buffed routinely, but at the same time, the rolling lineup or roster will be cycled in and out continuously. With that being said, if you do own like the newer top rarity cards, they oftentimes receive meaningful buffs because this event does come back several times a year, and it's not a bad place to spend your magic stones for that reason. Furthermore, due to this rerun featuring basically all new cards, rolling now means you're less likely to get duplicates because when you think about it, the vast majority of cards featured in this machine at this exact point in time are new. And I'm a strong believer that the first time you acquire almost any given card will provide some value to your monster box because no card is perfectly identical to another one. Yes, there are comparisons, but oftentimes cards may have certain advantages or disadvantages. And the point of the matter is, if you roll something new, it can't be as horrible as rolling like your 5th or 6th duplicate of something. So with that in mind, I want to take a look at the rolling rates. So for the 7-star cards, there's a 22% chance to acquire any of them. And you can monster exchange for almost all of them except for the orb skin cards with relative ease. The trade fodder required is only 5 6-star Godfest exclusives. So in terms of cost, this is one of the lowest for monster exchanging. The 6-star cards comprise 33.7% of the pool, and then finally the 5 stars have 44.24%. So the rolling rates are actually reasonable overall, and remember, the vast majority of cards featured in this event will be new. So even if you do roll, like, say, a 5-star card, it's going to be new, maybe has some merits, things have weapon assists, it gives you a bit more flexibility. Now, I want to just jump into the cards that I feel are a bit more noteworthy or highlightable to give you a bit of an idea of what could be lurking within. So, the first card I want to go to is the 5-star cards. I'm just going to start at the bottom and work my way up because, in my opinion, that is kind of what I use to evaluate how good a machine is. If the bottom rarity seems enticing, I'm much more inclined to actually roll. So, at the very bottom rarity, we have this blue dragon here, and it's the weapon assist that's much more interesting because it's going to be hard to find value for the 5-star cards unless maybe you want to say that, well, I could be a 5-star rarity lower challenge, but like we have so many of those, it shouldn't be the main motivator to roll because you're probably going to pick up lots of these 5-star cards over the course of your pad life. So I want to take a look at their weapon assist. So it gives you 2 team RCVs and a TPA, and TPAs are going to get buffed. Team RCVs are always helpful. It's not like it's an amazing weapon assist, but it's also not terrible, and it gives you an okay active skill. It's a bit hard to work around for an inherit. It'd be nicer as a base for some card, but the point of the matter is, not a terrible weapon. You can improve your healing output and bonus damage, but I feel like it might be hard to find a place, but it's a reasonable weapon assist because it gives you healing and damage, which is unusual. The next 5-star card I want to take a look at is this weapon assist from this blue dragon here. And the reason why I find it quite interesting is you get 80% resist in total. You get 40 jammer, 20 blind, 20 poison. Not terrible overall for a resist-based weapon card, but it's the active skill that's quite appealing. It is a 10-turn cooldown that gives you Void, Damage, Void, and then changes all orbs to Fire, Water, and Jammer. So you get a Tri-Elemental board changer. You also have a unique active skill on a low cooldown. And there are not too many Void, Damage, Void actives out there, and considering this is a bottom rarity card with quite a manageable cooldown, I feel like this will definitely have some merits in various content because there will be times where you're running a team that doesn't have much VDP damage and you need to overcome a VDP spawn because you can know what the dungeon has. This is probably more relevant for like descends or shorter dungeons or where you know that you're going to encounter certain spawns as a guarantee. It can be a nice workaround, and again, bottom rarity, it's going to be nice to have, I feel. After that, the 6-star cards are obviously a bit stronger, and for this individual here, they have a super jam resist, they have lots of wood rows, and I kind of feel like they're somewhat similar-ish to what Parvati could potentially fulfill on her team for Nautilus because their active skill is so similar. Their awakenings are quite similar as well. They both have 4 skill boosts, and this individual here has 1 turn of haste instead of 2 from Freighter, but it's a lower base cooldown, and it buffs RCV and attack, so basically the same thing. As a leader, they don't give damage reduction, which is obviously a drawback, and the lack of bonus combos and the follow-up attack is kind of not needed because Nautilus provides that already. So I feel like it's okay, but at the same time, they do give a larger health multiplier, and they give a generous RCV multiplier, and you basically just need to match what Nautilus wants to match anyways. I feel like Freyr is just going to be a better option. As a sub, I feel like Freyr is better, but it's just like, maybe you don't have Freyr, maybe you rolled her, maybe you want to pair up with Nautilus friends. It's possibly an option, but at the same time, there's a 7-star card we could monster exchange for if you want to take advantage of Nautilus. The next are the various, like, I don't know, I forgot how to call these cards, but like these kind of like robotic 6-star cards. They all follow a very similar template, and they come in basically all colors. The purple one here I find is quite interesting. You get 5 skill boosts, which is nice. You have 10 combo, double VDP, double healer. Not too many healers out there, but it's alright. You can get super poison resist as a super awakening, so that is definitely a big bonus. And then their active skill gives you 5 turns of damage reduction, which is probably all you would need to survive sure 2 or 3 big hits. And you also have orb movement time, which is cool, I guess. But you also get a roulette for 5 turns. So you have bonus movement time of 50% and a roulette for 5 turns. This is actually quite an interesting way to fish out orbs. Like, the reason why Mikage teams can actually function is because the spinner gives them a chance to actually, you know, get out enough dark orbs. We can apply that logic to this individual here. It's kind of cool when I think about it. Like, you have strong personal damage with a VDP especially. Healers get absolutely obliterated. You have lots of skill boosts. You have a unique active skill. Drawbacks are they don't give you a unique sub-color, and at this point in time, if you're really trying to tackle Shura 3, you want unique sub-colors. In their base form, they follow 3 enhanced dark combos. They have double 7 combo, team health, nice supportive kind of based awakenings overall, and you have that same active skill. So if you need VDP damage, you go for this form. If you want to have a bit more team damage and bulk, you go for this form. Like the 6-star cards, there's a lot of them that follow a very similar template. Not necessarily this active skill, but they come in different colors. You can't monster exchange for them, but it's nice when you actually roll them. And then in their final weapon assist form, or sorry, this chibi form, they have lots of team bonus damage instead. They have lots of skill boosts. They have an active skill that cuts all your RCV for 2 turns, which I think is a little dangerous. But you also have 2 turns of damage and attribute absorb cancellation. So it's a unique active skill. For a 12-turn cooldown, you get 2 turns of this. It's pretty nice. Just be mindful of the fact that you can't actually heal for 2 turns unless you actually use an active skill that buffs RCV. Remember, any debuff or buff can be overwritten by another existing buff, so it can be a way to play around. 6-star cards I think are nice to pick up. I don't know if it's necessarily worth chasing, but I feel like they can round out some things because, as I mentioned, this is like the other color form. Like, they come reasonably similar setup. So this individual here, the Type 61, they can function as a healing solution for your Royal Oak teams. Do you need to have one of these? It all depends on what you have on a given team. How many team RCVs do you have? Are you using Mutt, for instance? Because they don't give extra colors if you're trying to do Shura 3, but again, 4 skill boosts, significant healing output, VDP, not a bad thing, and their active skill is not terrible either. You get 1 turn of unable to match hard orbs, which is obviously sad, but for a 5-turn cooldown, you remove all bind and awoken skill binds. You don't clear unmatchable, but it's not a bad cleric-style active skill if you know unmatchable is not an issue. In their other forms, like I said, following a very similar template pattern of lots of enhanced combos, team HPs, a bit of damage, a super resist, and then 3 turns they give orb movement time, attack buff, and then delay. So like this can be argued as 4 effective skill boosts. It's not bad, but Skald is kind of fulfilling that role for Royal Oak teams, so like it's not a bad thing to have. Like if you pick it up, you might be able to fit it in if you're lacking, like, say, the spicier options all around. And again, like I said, the double VDP 10 combo of killers, lots of skill boosts, and a super resist. Like, they're not bad overall, but it's a matter of finding ways to work. And then lastly, for the 6-star cards, I want to look at fonts because I don't want to look at all the same colors, like the various other colors for that similar template. But for fonts, it's something I actually wanted a long time ago. I don't think it's really something I would want nowadays because at the time it was a great solution for RCV for dark teams. Like, it gives you dark orbs and makes an RCV debuff, which is in turn able to overwrite any RCV debuff from given spawns. It is potentially strong. You have significant VDP damage, especially against devil type spawns. You can get super blind or more devils or 7 combo. Like, it's a reasonably nice card overall, but at this point I feel like it's hard to fit in. It was great for Shura 2, but in Shura 3 the lack of a subcolor is going to be hard to justify their inclusion, I feel, because you want to have all the colors covered, and if you don't have that, if a card does not have a sub attribute, it's going to be a little harder to justify their inclusion. Now we jump to the 7-star cards, and the first one is Belial, who is really just the biggest star of this event. It's kind of like, well, there's a reason why I put her face as kind of like this overlay image here, because she is an orb skin card, which means you can directly purchase her if you are able to spend real life money, but that also means you can't monster exchange for her, which is kind of unfortunate. Like, maybe if you roll, you do get her, but if you are interested in spending money in this game, this is a great avenue to do so. I don't work for GungHo, they don't give me any money, they don't help me out in any way whatsoever, so again, take all this with a grain of salt. But why is Belial so meaningful? Well, she does so much. She has 5 enhanced Heart Orb Awakenings, which is an incredibly efficient way to bolster the healing output of any given team. And if you look at her RCV stat, it is quite significant. It's quite significant. So basically with Belial on your team, regardless of what you're using, you're almost going to be somewhat guaranteed to heal back up to full health with relative ease. And that's important because my logic is, if you cannot die, you're going to eventually clear the dungeon. So assuming you don't get one shot and Belial's on your team, you're going to be able to heal back up to full health all the time. And that is meaningful for any given team. But the fun does not stop there. She gives super poison resist. She can have 4 skill boosts, which is probably what you want to go for. The single 10 combo looks appealing, but she has no other offensive awakening, so it's only 5 times personal damage. Not terrible, but 2 more skill boosts is probably going to be more meaningful overall. And then it's their active skill that makes them quite appetizing. Their active skill cuts your health to 1, which means the cooldown is shorter. Anytime you harm yourself, the cooldown is significantly shorter. So it's a 5-turn cooldown, which is fast. It means you can inherit something over top of her, such as a delay if you want to get transforming or leader swapping or whatever you need to do. And then you also get to reduce all unmatchable statuses by clear all unmatchable, clear all binds, clear all awoken binds. So it's a full cleric active skill on a 5-turn cooldown, and you don't have to transform. So you get 4 skill boosts, you can inherit a delay, you could have, say, Red Shelling Fort, and now you're a 9 effective skill boost card. You have 4-turn delay, 5 skill boost, 1 from Shelling Fort. Point of the matter is, you have a massive, a perfect cleric active skill, so to speak. You can have 9 effective skill boosts with Shelling Fort inherit. It's amazing overall when I really think about it. And even as a leader, she is strong. Her sub potential is amazing. And her leadership potential shouldn't necessarily be overlooked because you have massive amounts of damage reduction when you match Fire and Dark. And you get bonus combos, you get the massive damage reduction, and you also have significant RCV, so you can always heal up to full health. Kind of redundant, it would have been nicer if it was health multiplier instead, but it's okay, you have large amounts of damage reduction. Drawback is you need to find a way to get Dark and Hard Orbs, so maybe you could pair with, say, Rudra in order to have follow-up attack or auto follow-up attack, which is meaningful for basically any given team, and maybe utilize 7x6. And Rudra, with their offensive awakenings, which we'll talk about more, will always damage cap or double cap with relative ease. But the point is, this is actually a reasonably strong leader skill, but I do agree that her sub potential is definitely where she shines brightest, because she can basically make any team function better. Full cleric, super healing, huge amounts of skill boosts, and super poison resist, because why not? In her dark form, I wanted to show both of them to remind myself that, both are significant, because in her dark form, she actually is a strong farming leader. She has a massive attack multiplier with attack well below 50%. She wants to match 6 or more connected dark orbs, which means you can stack rows, you can deal massive amounts of personal damage, your other subs can deal large amounts of damage, and you definitely can create farming teams out of this. I've obviously got a bias for Shivnia because I have a Shivnia, but this is definitely another appetizing use because it's a 1-turn based cooldown, and in theory, both leaders are able to make 6 Dark Orbs every single turn, which means you can always activate. It's a pretty nice thing overall, always having Dark Orbs, using in conjunction with other orb changers. You can make lots of rows, lots of damage, and with their Dark sub-attribute, it can be meaningful because you could double damage cap her. Her primary attribute probably hits damage doubled cap, and her sub-attribute will probably be hitting for a significant amount as well. Point of the matter is, if you need a strong farming leader and you don't care about the amazing cleric potential for her base form, it is something else to consider. And even their weapon is great. You get a God Killer, which is highly relevant for Shura 3. You have a Cloud Resist, which is always nice. And you have that full cleric active skill. So it's powerful overall. It'd be nice to have multiple copies. But if you had one, I would stick with her base form because this healing potential is just amazing. Now we can look at Rudra the Destroyer. So in their dark color form, they have 5 of these Cross Awakenings. And that's a lot of damage because each Cross Awakening is equal to 2.5 times personal damage. So with 5 Cross Awakenings, it is a total of 97 97.65%, oh, sorry, 97.7 times personal damage against any given spawn. Like, we always said A10 was amazing because they had 10 combo, 7 combo, lots of killers, things lined up. Pretty cool stuff. Rudra is basically able to do this against any type spawn, regardless of typing, monotyping, multiple typing, any typing, it doesn't matter. They can be double damage capped with relative ease and explosive amounts of damage basically every single turn. They also have a 2-turn cooldown, which means you can inherit something over top of them to make life much easier. But as I mentioned, they could possibly be a pairing for Belial. Maybe you can utilize 7x6 and have Belial as one leader, Rudra as another leader, big board, maybe a couple of these on the team. Point of the matter is you can deal explosive amounts of damage with relative ease. And as a sub, they are just incredibly hard hitting. And a card that can hit damage cap or double damage cap with relative ease is meaningful to consider if you have trade fodder available. And then, as I promised, here was the leader skill multiplier. So you might think, well, that attack multiplier is low, and it definitely is. But you have a huge amount of damage reduction. You have essentially 5 times the amount of effective health from what you're given, and you have 50% more health from the HP multiplier. So you've got a tremendous amount of effective health. You can tank large amounts of damage, and the attack multiplier may be lower, but as I mentioned, Rudra with 7x6 is going to just explode with damage overall. So might be a cool pairing. It's not obviously the best out there, but it's maybe something to keep in the back of your mind. Next is almighty Gung-Ho Zeus. And in their light form, they are actually a strong leader. They can have 6 skill boosts, so transforming becomes much easier. And with their awakenings, they have significant bulk, respectable VDP damage. If you want the 10 combo instead of skill boost plus, you're able to have significant damage when you VDP. Their active skill gives you RCV and a movement time buff, and unlocks the whole board and gives you 6 light and hard orbs. Wonderfully strong active skill for a 7-turn cooldown. It ensures your activation requirements and ability to heal, and a nice various buffs all around. Their leader skill gives you great bulk overall. You have 4, well, you're 222 and basically 50%, 25%, well, I don't know, 30% damage reduction per leader. And you can pair this with Ferrule because he has big auto follow-up attack. Ferrule has significant amounts of bonus combos, and then you're able to have a nice chain of active skills. Ferrule gives you the attack buff. Zeus gives you RCV and movement time. You just covered all the major buffs you need to have for a given team. So team building can be easier. With Ferrule's, both of them want to match 6 or more connected light orbs. And you get auto follow attack, you get bonus combos, you have thick multipliers. It's a nice team overall. You have significant bulk. You have 4 times health plus another 50% damage reduction. So you have over 8 times effective health with auto follow attack and bonus combos, and you're immune to poison damage, and you have a great chain of active skills. Multiple Ferrules means you can have a system going more easily. It could be even more mindless potentially. I think it's pretty cool overall. For the next card here, I can't pronounce her name, but this blue Lost Gear, she is a wonderful alternative to Royal Oak. So, if you did not receive the Samurai Showdown Orb Skin card, Shizumaru, I may not pronounce that right. If you don't have him, you don't have Royal Oak, but you have a great Royal Oak team for subs, this could be your dream come true because she is available through the Monster Exchange. So if you have the trade fodder and you have what you think is a strong Royal Oak team minus Royal Oak himself, you are able to acquire a powerful leader. And she is great because it's very synergistic. You have 4 skill boosts, you have super poisonous, you have a 10 and 7 combo, and 3 L awakenings. So wonderful personal damage. She has an active skill with a 3-turn cooldown, which gives you no Skyfalls for 1 turn, so you can cancel out any no Skyfall debuff, which is nice. You have an RCV buff, which is great as well. You also create an L of water orbs, which might overwrite Heart, which can be a bit of a problem, but you can always inherit something over top of her if necessary. But for her leader skill, you're able to have large amounts of RCV and 60% damage reduction per leader and 2 bonus combos when you match water orbs in an L shape. So the main drawback is VDP is a problem, because if you VDP, you may not have an L, so you will need to make sure you have at least 9 plus 5 or 14 water orbs to keep that damage reduction in your full attack multiplier. So VDPing is definitely going to be a weaker point for the team, but if you have ways to give yourself enough orbs, you can work around it with 14 orbs overall. And if you pair with Royal Oak, you're able to get a nice big multiplier. You have a sizable attack multiplier, you have big damage reduction, you have 2 times the health, and you have 3 times the RCV. You never have to worry about healing ever again. You have bonus combos, auto follow attack. And remember, because she has a 3-turn base cooldown, you're able to inherit something over top of it. Maybe you need a big delay or whatever you need to help yourself transform. Point of the matter is, if you don't have Royal Look, you don't have that Samurai 3 or Samurai Showdown Orb Skin card, this is probably going to be the next best option for leader pairings, and it might help you clear even more content. Just be aware of the fact that her sub-attribute is the same color as Royal Oak, so it's not giving you any new color coverage, which would have been quite exciting if it did. Next is Velcz, and she is going to be similar for Nautilus teams. Basically, if you don't have Freyr and you don't have a Nautilus, but you love your Nautilus teams, you could definitely pair with them. And when you pair with them, you have, again, a solid multiplier. You don't get an RCV multiplier, which means you have to rely on healing solutions in some way, shape, or form, but you have another thick multiplier. I feel like Freyr is a nice pairing just because you never have to worry about healing, but again, maybe not everyone has Freyr. Maybe the resource investment is too high, whereas this card is just good to go right out of the box, so to speak, because they have Super Blind, a bunch of rows, 10 and 7 combo, or 10 plus VDP, 4 skill boosts. They have a 2-turn cooldown, which gives you no Skyfalls, which is helpful, of course, and then a time buff, so if you don't have Celica, a nice alternative there, and you get 3 wood and 3 hard orbs, so a nice active skill overall when I really think about it. And again, you can inherit something over top to give a much higher impact active skill. A strong leader overall if you don't have Nautilus or Freyr. Next is Elena, and Elena in her base form, she has been somehow catapulted into the stratosphere for damage output. She has double 10 combo, which we know is a great ability to have. That's 25 times personal damage. But she also has a dragon, a god, and a devil killer, and the chance to get any one of those 3 again as a super awakening. So most things are going to have one of those typings. So your 25 times another 3 means 75 times personal damage. That's big damage. And then if multiple typings line up, or it lines up with your Super Awakening, you're just going to be hitting so incredibly hard. So obviously you can't hurt Void spawns, but maybe you don't have to worry about that. But the point of the matter is, Elena is able to deal massive amounts of damage and is a great candidate for the double damage cap. Unfortunately, I feel like her utility beyond damage is kind of underwhelming. I'd say Gung-Ho Lakshmi is probably going to be a better option because they have double 10, but they have a better active skill that you probably want to bring in a dungeon because, yes, you get a board changer of Fire and Light and then Fire Orb Skyfall, but that's kind of it overall, I feel. And it's only 2 skill boosts, whereas Lakshmi is 4. So Elena is cool, definitely a huge hard-hitting card for sure, but I feel like it's hard to incorporate her. Dark Karen actually received quite a significant buff overall. She has 4 skill boosts, maybe 5 with a Super Awakening, or you can take a 7 or a VDP, depending on what you need more. But maybe you want to have a bit more damage, especially the VDP. Maybe not, because her Awakenings are quite different now. She has the Devil Killer, Dragon Killer, which is nice, a 7 combo, always helpful, and then she has 2 Cross Awakenings. And remember, each Cross Awakening is 2.5 times personal damage. So Karen can actually deal spectacular amounts of damage with relative ease. So you got a hard-hitting card. She has the Dark attribute, which at least for myself I found difficult to cover for light teams if I want to have all attributes for sure 3. And her active skill is something you want to bring. It's an attack buff and damage reduction. You need damage reduction. So it's a color that's hard to cover. You have the damage reduction which you need to have. The 10-turn cooldown is okay. Maybe you could inherit something over top of it that's more impactful. Maybe you want to put like your Fujin or damage absorb style counter on top of her, and then just rely on the shield as the dungeon goes towards the end for Hexazion. Point of the matter is, I think she's actually quite an exciting card overall. As a leader, she's reasonably easy to use. You get easy orb movement time. You get 10 bonus seconds per leader. You have big health, big RCV, and a nice attack multiplier, and all you need to do is connect 5 or more orbs and you get some bonus combos. So as an easy to use leader, it's definitely there, but I think they definitely have merits as a sub for your mono light teams, or even like other teams that may, like, just if you need damage reduction and some skill boost and personal damage, not a bad option overall. Gung-Ho Yomi in her base form has 4 skill boosts, which is great, and she now has, did she have team health before? I can't remember, but she has an extra L shield. So you have bulk from the health, and you have 2 L shields, and each of those contribute to 10% bonus damage reduction when you match the L heart. So I've done kind of cheesy things, so to speak, with like Norza teams and L shields, because Norza with Hoppo, and I guess Yomi as well, can have large amounts of extra damage reduction with these L shields, and it could enable you to tank hits that you were previously unable to actually survive. Nice thing overall, you can have 777 combo and VDP, or an L if you need to have that unlocking aspect. For a 5-turn cooldown, that makes you a column of hearts and water with no Skyfalls. Not terrible, not amazing either, but easy enough to inherit over. As a leader, their attack multiplier is still honestly too low. Like, they should have brought this attack multiplier up. Like, the bulk is reasonable. Like, Norza and Yomi were a great pairing for Shura 1 back in the day, and like, you definitely could probably clear more content now, and this auto fall of attack is enough to overcome the Dragon Seed in Shura 2, but I feel that, like, she could have been given a little bit more love overall. And as I mentioned before, Gung-Ho Lakshmi is a great card for double damage cap because the double 10 combo with a huge attack stat. Elena has actually a very small attack stat by comparison, and Lakshmi, the biggest drawback I feel is 4 enhanced fire orbs. It's not like it's a bad thing to have passive damage for everyone, but the enhanced combo tends to be more efficient. Maybe that could have been something else. They don't do any VDP damage, but they have 4 skill boosts, which is nice. They have a 9-turn cooldown, which gives you 7 turns of damage reduction. So that means you can have almost 100% uptime on this damage reduction, which means you can probably survive significantly more hits than you were allowed to because you are going to add this damage reduction on top of your leader skill. And you also unlock the whole board and change wood to fire. Pretty nice output overall. As a leader, it's only health multiplier. It's not enough. It's just not consistent as a leader. Lucy and Valkyrie is the last card I want to highlight. And they're an orb skin card. And their main appeal is being able to be a strong cleric option. So in their base form, they have been buffed. Now they're a full cleric style active skill. They weren't before, and that was definitely a hindrance. But they're now able to remove all binds, awoken binds, fully heal all HP. You're able to change the whole board to fire, wood, water, light, and dark. So all 5 colors without hearts, with the full cleric active skill and the full heal. So if you have auto fall attack, you don't have to worry about the resolve, and technically no hearts means easier to concentrate damage because there are just 5 colors instead of 5 colors plus 1 is hearts. For their awakenings, they can have up to 4 skill boosts, or they can have triples or quad 7 combo with a large attack stat, and they have super blind resist and 20 jammer, 20 poison. The 20% are kind of awkward. I'd rather get those through awakening or through weapon assist, but we have it. We can't say it's terrible either, but it may give you another color coverage that could be difficult potentially. But it's a nice active skill, and personal damage is there, skill boost is there, but their weapon assist may be where more value is found. So I feel that in order to start tackling harder content, you really want to have like one of the premier cleric style weapon assists. And this is definitely, I feel, one of those because you get a skill boost, which is great. You have 2 orb enhances, which are always helpful. And then you have 20% of all resist. Not a bad thing to have 20%. It might help you at 100 more easily. But again, it's the active skill. It's the full cleric active skill with the board changer, and you heal all health. I prefer Christmas Tamadra personally, but it's not a bad thing to have overall, especially if you have no other like of these premier like cleric style weapon assists that give a skill boost to help you transform. And with that being said, I feel like these are the more notable cards that I want to highlight in the Gung-Ho collab. If you can think of other cards that I glazed over or even missed completely, let me know in the comments below and we can continue that conversation there, or other people can chime in. But with that being said, I still think it's a reasonable event to roll in because, like I said, most of the things are going to be new in here, so new stuff might open up new things for your monster box, and the rolling rates are not terrible. But if you do IAP and you do intend to spend, or you do spend money on this game and you're okay with that, I strongly suggest you pick up Belial because she is just going to be crucial to so many different teams moving forward. I feel like, in my opinion, the most important sub to have on a team is a strong cleric. You're always going to need a cleric, and if you have a cleric that does so much, it's going to take a long time for her to be power crept overall. So, with that being said, hopefully you all have a truly fantastic day. Let me know what you think about this event in the comments below. I wish you all the best luck in your own Tad adventures, and happy puzzling.